Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we uncover the leadership life hacks that help you to experience breakout performance faster and rocket to success. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Need a powerful and entertaining way to ignite your next conference, retreat, or team building session? My keynotes don't include magic, but they do have the power to help your attendees take a leap forward by putting emotional intelligence into their employee engagement, and customer-centric leadership practices. So bring the infotainment creativity of the Fast Leader Show to your next event. Go to beyondmorale.com/speaking to learn more. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, you better hold on tight because there's going to be a lot of energy on this episode because I have Kirk Weisler with me, who was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, lived in several cities in Michigan and Tyler, Texas. He was the middle of three sons, and after high school, Kirk lost more money than he made in 2 years, so he joined the U.S. Army as a Ranger because he needed to gain some discipline. And after giving 4 years to his government, he decided to give 2 years to his God and serve a 2-year mission for his church. After that, Kirk went to college and was rejected by every major university that he applied to. He went to a 2-year college and met his lovely wife, Rebecca, and started on the journey that we're going to learn about today. After completing his 2 years of community college, he was finally accepted by Brigham Young University and received a degree in organizational behavior and youth leadership. Kirk currently is the Chief Morale Officer at Team Dynamics and works with companies and organizations around the globe. He is an expert speaker, author, and creator of outrageously cool workplaces. Over the past 17 years, over 50,000 leaders have specifically sought out Kirk's advice and wisdom on building teams, strengthening leaders, and improving cultures. He authored the best-smelling book, The Dog Poop Initiative, and the semi-sweet best smeller, The Cookie Thief. Kirk currently lives in Phoenix, Arizona with his wonderful wife, Rebecca, and thank God he has a lot of energy because they are trying their best to raise 6 remarkable children. Kirk Weisler, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
I sure am, Jim. Thanks for letting me be a guest on the Fast Leader Show. How fun.
Man, I'm glad you're here. We've had such incredible things to learn about you in our conversation prior to the interview. And I hope we can bring a lot of those things out because I think they're going to help a lot of us get over the hump. But for now, I've given our listeners a little bit about you. But can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Well, obviously with 6 kids, you've got to be passionate about family. And I don't think that's unusual to any of your listeners. So as the 6 kids, we've got 1 in theater, 1 in dance. So those kind of things are a lot of fun. But the real passion that Rebecca and I share is one of the things that we think makes people the most attractive is confidence. And so the goal and the passion is to raise confident kids that are confident about who they are, confident about what they're passionate about, and confident about life. And if they've got that sense of confidence, they won't fall into some of the things that kids fall into when they're a little insecure and they're trying to fit in. So confident kids, that's my passion.
Man, that's pretty huge. There was something that I was reading the other day that talks about, especially for girls, when the age of 14 hits, that whole confidence structure, framework, foundation that they may have had previous to that just crumbles.
It can. It certainly can. And that's why I think parents have to be, just like leaders, parents have to be very intentional. You can't just think, well, I hope my kids are confident. No, there's got to be a plan. There's got to be a purpose. There's got to be goals. There's got to be some intentionality in all that we do as leaders. And parents probably have the most significant leadership role out there.
That's for sure. And I know there was one, as you're listening to you talk, and thanks for sharing that, is that you had shared with me that you actually, when startups were going wild and crazy, that you were part of 7 different startups. Some of that confidence thing, I think, came into play based on the story that you were telling me and what you decided to do. I mean, can you please share that with us?
You bet. Well, back in the early 2000s, before the .com crash and bomb, everyone thought they were going to do the new, start the new best thing. And so we were part of a startup that was going to create 1,000 jobs in 2 years, and we did. And then that success got me invited to be a part of something else, which got me invited to be a part of something else, which got me invited to be, and everyone was offering you this huge signing check to come here, come there. And so I was very flattered, and I was very, I kind of caught up in this, wow, you can do anything, and wanting to be successful. And so I would take one offer, and then I would take another offer. And a few years later, you're making huge dollars a month, more than you ever imagined. But my wife kind of pointed out something that I knew, and that was, oh my gosh, that that was that I wasn't happy. She said, why don't you go back? She said, when you were doing training, when you were working with people in training and leadership development, helping people gain skills and realize more of their potential, you were much happier. And when you were happier doing with that, you were also a happier dad and a happier husband. She said, I can tell that you're not being fulfilled in your work. And that bothers me as a wife. And so I said, well, yeah, but I'm scared, babe. I said, I know I'm not happy. We're having this conversation, but I don't know I'm scared. I don't know how to replace this income that we have now. And I don't know how to, she said, well, why don't you just stop doing this and go back to some of the conferences you used to speak at? And why don't you just become an independent speaker and trainer? And I said, well, okay, that's a great idea, but what if nobody calls? What if nobody wants to hear what I have to say? And she said, well, what if they do? She said, it's time for you to kind of practice what you preach and, give it a go and risk it. And so with that kind of support and encouragement, that's exactly what I did. I finally stepped away from things and hung out my shingle, as it were, called a few people that I'd spoken to before and said, hey, this is what I'm doing now if you need someone. And Jim, there's no question that first year was a little bit worrisome. But at the end of the year, all the bills were paid. No one was calling to take things away. And the next year doubled the first year. And then 17, 18 years later now, I've enjoyed a full calendar for 18 years, essentially built on word of mouth referral work. I don't have any marketing plan. I don't have any marketing materials. I don't have a business card. I've just been blessed and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way about that. And so that was a great chance for me to say, what do I really believe? And am I going to put my actions and my beliefs, are they going to match my words? Are they going to match my feet? And are my feet going to match my mouth? So that was a big, big thing.
Yeah, that's huge. And thanks for sharing that. Because for myself, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is because you left a very clear mark on me when I had the opportunity to see you speak. Oh gosh, probably about 15 years ago now. So it was during those early stages.
Back when I was pretty raw. Woo.
But even raw, it was still, it left such a huge impact. And you said something without exactly quoting you to the effect of that. You can't motivate people. To think that you're actually going to do so is ridiculous. What you can do as a leader is create the environment by which people motivate themselves.
Oh, Jim, that's so huge. As a young leader, I thought my job, and a lot of young leaders do, they think, well, I've got to go motivate the team. It's my job to make sure the morale is high. It's my job to get people fired up, like you're this pep rally guy at the local high school pregame show. And that's just not what leadership is. And the minute that a leader can decide and realize or come to the realization that, hey, it's not my job to motivate people, but it's my job to help people come to that understanding that, you know what, your personal motivation is your responsibility. The spirit and attitude and energy you bring to work, you got to be in charge of that. My job as a leader is to create a climate where that sense of passion can live and grow and become more. In other words, my job is to make sure we're not throwing cold water on your motivation, but your motivation is your job. My motivation is my job. And the minute you can help people come to that place, you've helped them really lay the foundation for taking ownership for their entire life.
It's so true. And I know when you started talking about, the transition that you went through, about, the not being happy, being scared about the, loss of income and, really just taking that leap and what you shared about motivation. Man, there's just so many quotes that I start thinking about. And in the show, we look at those because they help us through a lot of those times and give us, sometimes a beacon or a waypoint or a direction to go. Is there a quote or two that you can share with us that kind of gives you a good sense of direction?
This is one of the unique things about your show, Jim, as I listen to some of your past interviews, and every one of your guests shares these quotes. You have a collection of quotes that is phenomenal on your website. And so a couple quotes that I hope will be worthy of your current collection that have kind of set a benchmark for me. When Rebecca and I first got married and I was getting started, I was very inspired by a guy named Stephen Covey. Well, she actually went and got a job working for Stephen Covey. So she was working at the Covey Leadership Center, 20 years ago. And I was hoping to somehow be good enough to be hired as one of their trainers, which never happened. I just kept getting busier with my independent work. But one of the quotes she brought home that hung on our refrigerator for years went like this. It said, "We move towards and become that which we consistently think about and believe." And that really invites you and I to consider something. What is it that I consistently am thinking about? And what is it that I believe? If my life and my energy is moving towards my thoughts, I sure hope my thoughts aren't negative. I sure hope my thoughts aren't cynical. I sure hope my thoughts aren't belittling to myself or others. I sure hope my thoughts are filled with potential and power and positivity. I sure hope my thoughts are filled with a creative energy about what can be and about the good that exists in people. So it helped me, that quote helped me be much more intentional about the characters and the acts that take place on the stage of my mind. And so that was a big quote for me.
Oh, that's huge. And thanks for elaborating and filling in and giving so much more richness to that quote. I appreciate that.
Well, let me give you one more. And again, this I give all the credit to my lovely wife, Rebecca. This is one she pulled out for the kids, and it's one that I've used again and again in my work. Essentially, she says, "Act the way you want to be, and soon you'll become the way you act." And she was telling this to the kids, saying, listen, act confident, and soon you'll become confident. What do confident people act like? What do they sit like? And as I'm sharing this idea at a seminar, and sometimes you do these organizations, and Jim, I know you've done these too, where you've been asked to come speak to a group, and the group, some of the group wants to be there, and some of the group, their management made them come, right? So you can kind of tell the difference. There's the folks in the first few rows that have their pen out. They're kind of leaning into their notebook. Then there's those few people on the back row that came in last, sitting in the back row. They've got their arms folded like, yeah, try to motivate me, dude. And they're kind of giving that look. And so I'm with one of these groups and they're not sure if they want to be there yet. So I roll out the act the way you want to be quote. And this guy says, "Oh, you mean fake it till you make it? Fake it till you make it." And I go, well, here's a guy that just took something potentially positive and somehow gave it a negative tone. But something occurred to me in my mind, and I responded to him. I said, "No, I don't mean fake it till you make it. I mean this. I mean choose it until you become it." Right? Bring the power of choice into your life and choose who you want to be, right? And practice who you want to be until you become who you want to be. Choose it till you become it. Act the way you want to be. So there it is. A couple more quotes for your wall there.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure and those will be tweeted, retweeted, and shared across many different social platforms. So thank you for that. Now, we've had such a great conversation. We talked about many things. You even shared a story about a friend of yours that you were just amazed and taught you a huge lesson. But can you think about a time where you've had to get over a hump and it totally defined you and put you in a much better direction? Can you share that story?
Well, you and I visiting before talked about, really if we're a careful and quiet exploration of our history and some of our biggest aha moments where we gained confidence, where our shoulders went back, happen after tremendous adversity, opposition in our lives, whether great or small. And I think we could all tell a story, a child in the hospital, a horrific accident, those kind of things. But let me share a smaller and maybe a little more of a lighthearted story with you and your listeners about a small adversity that really had a great impact on me and still does today. One that I didn't foresee or intend. And the situation, and this is a true story, this is the foundation of a book that I wrote called The Dog Poop Initiative. It's a very simple, looks like a children's book. It's a 5-minute read. But my job, Jim, I was the assistant coach dad for a group of 4 and 5-year-old soccer players. My wife was born in England, so soccer has to be a part of the family culture because that's just what they do in England. So little Josh, he's 17 now, but Josh was 5 years old. He's on the soccer team. My job as the assistant coach dad, Jim, is basically to keep the kids off the soccer field and out of the parking lot until it's our turn to take the field. The soccer field that we're assigned to that day, we're the third set of teams assigned to that field. As we arrive, and I've got a few of the kids from the neighborhood, I say, guys, kind of stay here. And I'm out watching the little kids on the field. They're finishing up their game. As I'm watching their game, some parents sitting there watching their kids play get my attention. And they say, "Hey, you on the field next?" And I go, yes, I am. And they point to the field. And on the field, on the corner of the field, on one end is a huge pile of dog poop. And they point to this pile of dog poop and they say, "You'll need to tell your kids to watch out for that." And they're very, very serious about this and very dramatic. And they're very disgusted with this this pile of dog poop, and they're letting me know the act of service they're rendering that day is to make sure that everyone knows about the poop. So I look at the poop, I acknowledge them, I thank them for their warning, and then I begin to ponder what just happened. A few minutes later, some parents who didn't see me get that warning, Jim, got my attention, essentially gave me the same warning with the same level of drama. And then now their service for the day, their good deed has been done. They let somebody know about the poop. Now I know, and you know, we got to clean that up, right? I know that as soon as the soccer game is over, I got to clean that pile of poop up, because genetically, for as many generations as I can trace back in my family history, genetically, Weislers always step in poop. That's just something we do. Our feet are like magnets drawn to metal. And if it's poop, we're going to step in it. So I've got to clean that up, because I know my son will step in that. Somehow he'll be the only boy today that will find that pile and step in it. So I'm going to clean it up. Well, about 3 minutes later, Coach Coleman shows up. He's the real coach of our team. And he shows up. He got the same 2 warnings I got. He looked at me and I looked at him. We just shrugged our shoulders. We both knew we were going to clean up the poop. Their game is over. We're going to get our kids doing their warm-ups in the net. We're going to clean up the poop. We don't even discuss it. We step onto the field. Then the 2 coaches on the field, because at that age group, the coaches are on the field with their kids, and a teenage referee in a striped shirt with a whistle, who looks like he might be doing some court community service time, some court-appointed community service time. They approach us, and these 2 adults and this young adult stop us and explain to us about the pile of poop. But the referee explains, don't worry about it. If the ball starts moving towards that pile, I'll just blow my whistle. We'll pick up the ball, move it back to the other side of the field, and continue the game. They are now changing the rules of the game to play around this pile of poop. Well, as they're explaining this new rule, Coach Coleman can't take it anymore, but he shows no sign of disgust. He just simply walks towards a trash can. I follow his example. I leave the huddle of poop discussion. I walk towards a trash can. We find a piece of cardboard and a stick, and within 90 seconds, the poop is cleaned up, it's thrown away, and we're ready to play the game. At which point, a parent of the departing team who sees this happen, now they sat there for an hour and watched the poop for an hour. And before then, it was there for another hour for a previous game. The parent of the departing team looks at me and says, yeah, good job. Somebody really needed to do that. Right? And I'm like, so I hollered back. I said, well, it could have been you. I mean, for an hour, I was blown away. Well, for the next hour, Jim, we played a soccer game. And what didn't we worry about? What was one thing we did not even worry about?
You want me to answer that?
Right.
I'm trying to contain my laughter.
Yeah. Well, no, that's for an hour, we didn't even think about a pile of poop. We weren't like, oh no, it's coming on the side of the field. We just played the game. Now, I thought I was done. I thought this is the end of it. But your question was, how did this change my life? Well, the next morning I woke up. You ever had something happen the day before? You know, listeners, you know, when you have something happen the day before, and it's churning in the back of your subconscious, churning in the back of your mind. I woke up the next morning and I was bugged. I woke up bugged. And when we're bugged, it's a good thing, because we're bugged about something. And it's when we're bugged that we do something, or at least we can, and we can complain or point, or we can take action. So I took action. So you've got this great show, and you're changing the world with your Fast Leader show and your leadership and helping people share their story and to inspire others. And well, today they call it blogging, but back then it was just an email list. I wrote an email describing to 1,000 people what had happened the day before on the soccer field. And my main point in that email was simply this. I was worried that all these children, all these future leaders, were watching all these adults, including their parents, do all this pointing. The model was pointing. It wasn't initiative. It wasn't scooping. It was pointing and complaining. And if that's the model we're going to give the leaders of tomorrow, we're not going to have very good leaders tomorrow. And so I just kind of described what I just described. I sent this email out and I said, we've got to be better examples. People are watching, kind of a thing. And I thought, that's the end of it. Here's how it changed my life. Over the next 2 weeks, I got email after email after email after email back. People had printed off this email that I'd written, and they took it in their staff meeting at hotels, restaurants, businesses, military units. And they read this poop story. It was basically 4 paragraphs, this little poop story. They read it in their staff meeting, and they had meaningful discussions in their workplace about what they were pointing at, what was the poop, and did they want to be pointers or do they want to be scoopers? So I got these emails back, and then my brother, who was in a military unit, my older brother, military intelligence, in fact, he said, Kirk, he said, your poop story was a big hit. And I said, Greg, I said, I got these emails. People are reading this. They're stabbing me. Can you even believe it? He goes, Kirk, he said, we had the most amazing discussion. We were all laughing so hard at the story, but then we realized, oh my gosh, it's about us. Here's the thing that we point at. Here's this broken process. Here's this broken product. Here's this workaround we've created, right? And we're all pointing and complaining about it, and we're warning others about it instead of taking the time that it takes just to solve it, to clean it up, to fix it. He said, Kirk, you got to do a book about this. And I was like, I'm not going to do a book about poop. He goes, Kirk, think of this through, man. You're not thinking. He said, it would drive mom nuts if the only book her 3 sons ever wrote was a book about poop. Right? Because mom always claimed raising 3 boys, that was all we talked about anyway. And so with a little bit of encouragement from my brother, we did this book called Dog Poop Initiative. And it's now in several languages, and it's around the world, and it's opened so many doors for me. I've had people call me or email me, say, hey, are you the poop guy? Which I never wanted to be the poop guy, obviously, but I'm known in some circles as the poop guy. And I've been on some radio shows. So let me close this story out with an experience I had on a radio show that was a game changer for me. In my mind, Jim, I thought this book was about initiative, very simply. I thought the number one reason that people don't take initiative is because it's not my job and I don't want to get my hands dirty. That's what I thought. But on a radio show, I learned a valuable lesson, and it changed me. So some morning show disc jockeys having me on, he intends to talk for about 5 minutes about the book because he discovered the book and he thought it was really funny. So it was just kind of a fun, quick interview, give away a few books to the first 5 callers. And so I told the story, and boom, I thought I was about to be off the show. And the producer comes on and says, hey, the phones have lit up. Take some callers. So he says, Kirk, will you stay on and take some callers? I'm like, I didn't even expect to be on a radio show or write a book about poop. So I said, sure, I'll take a call. And anyway, for the next 45 minutes, we talked to callers about initiative and they told their story. They told their version of the poop story about something. One young lady came on and she told a story that was a great example, I think, of the theme that was in everybody's story that day on the phone. The number one reason people don't take initiative isn't because it's not their job, and it isn't because they don't want to get their hands dirty. The number one reason people don't take initiative is because of peer pressure. The story that she shared, Jim, went like this. She said, just the week before the radio show, she was walking into work from lunch with 6 or 7 of her coworkers. So they're all coming back together. They're walking towards the front end of the building. Outside the door is a couple trash cans. About 7 feet from one of the trash cans is a great big double big gulp cup. It's laying on the grass. A couple of her coworkers walk by the cup. She steps off the sidewalk to pick up the cup, thinking, I'll just throw it in the trash can. As she bends down to pick up the cup, what happens, Jim?
What are you doing?
Yeah. Her coworkers say, what are you doing? Don't touch that. You don't know where it's been. Let the grounds crew get it, right? Now, were her coworkers genuinely concerned that she might pick up some germs? What do you think that really bothered them the most about her picking up that cup?
That they didn't do it first.
That's exactly right. They didn't care about her germs, right? They didn't want her to pick up the cup because they didn't pick up the cup. And if she did, it would make them look what?
Bad.
Yeah, they were worried about themselves and their image. They didn't do it. And so I don't want you to do it because you'll make me look bad. This very simple idea resonates deeply through every aspect of our lives. We're all of us, it's to some degree, can be guilty of stopping others from doing what's needful and needs to be done simply because we think if they do that, they're going to make us look bad. And sometimes people are stopping us for the same motivation. If we take the initiative, if we solve the problem, if we go the extra mile, we might make them look bad. It's the most insidious, mind-numbing, potential-robbing form of peer pressure that's out there. But it's out there in droves. It's holding companies back. It's holding teams back. It's holding entire cultures and countries back. It's the most amazing thing. And it's been a game changer for me.
Wow, Kirk, that's awesome. Thanks for giving us all of the insight that you gave us, because I can tell you that from even, when I had the opportunity to see you speak 15 plus years ago to where you are today, it's amazing to me how much depth and how much insight you've actually gained throughout the course of those years that you now can impact the world yourself with. So thank you again.
Well, I think you're being kind there, Jim. But if I have any wisdom or depth, it's from people that I've met along the way that have been so willing to teach me things on radio shows.
And that's why I do the Fast Leader Show. I've learned a ton.
I love it.
So Kirk, keep doing what you're doing, because the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that gives you a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement along with integrated activities that will improve employee engagement and leadership skills in everyone. Using this award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and loyal employees who have great work relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about An Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, so here we go, Fast Leader listeners. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Kirk, the Hump Day Hoedown is a part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Kirk Weisler, are you ready to hoe down?
I'm ready to hoe down. Let's bring it, Jim.
What do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Definitely organization. It's never been a strength for me to be more organized, and I'm at that place where I've got to have another admin assistant kind of step in. So, and just offload those things, focus on the things I'm good at, get rid of things I'm not good at, and to let someone else with great organizational skills carry the load.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Never stop growing. Always keep yourself in a state of becoming. My wife says, don't be a human being, be a human becoming, in a never-ending state of growth and development. Remember, human becomings are very becoming humans.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
I think it's always important to read a new book. I've been for 18 years trying to read a new book every 30 days. Now that sounds like a lot, but you read QBQ, Raving Fans, Who Moved My Cheese, you can read those books in an hour. So if you can't invest at least 1 hour a month in your personal development, then you need to recheck your priorities. So read a new book. Also, for those young listeners out there, if you work for somebody, your boss, your supervisor has a favorite book. Always read a book that your leader loves. So always have 1 or 2 books in common with your leader. That's great advice.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
Authenticity. When people can sense you're authentic, they're going to forgive all those shortcomings. Well, not all, they'll forgive the majority of your shortcomings. When people sense your genuine intent and you're authentic, right, they'll open the door. So it's like you said, Jim, people do business with people they can trust, not just any person, but people they can trust. Authenticity resonates. Be authentic.
What would be one book, and it could be from any genre, that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Listen, there's 1,000 great leadership books out there. I know you talk about many of them, but one book that I still think about reference today is a book called Orbiting the Giant Hairball by Gordon MacKenzie. It tells about his journey working for Hallmark Cards. And it's a wonderful, for me, it's a culture book. It's a leadership book. It's a creativity book. It's an innovation book. Orbiting the Giant Hairball, Gordon MacKenzie. It's a game changer. You'll love it.
Okay, Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information by going to fastleader.net/Kirk Weisler. And I'll even provide links to the Dog Poop Initiative and the Cookie Thief. Okay, Kirk, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you. But you can't take everything. You can only choose one. So what's one skill or piece of knowledge that you would take back with you, and why?
This is a great question, Jim, and it's an easy one to answer. When I was younger, I worried so much about what I didn't know. If I could take one thing back, I'd spend far less time worrying about what I didn't know or what I felt I had to know before I was ready or worthy to try something or be a part of something new. Instead, I would just dive in, believing not so much in myself as in my ability to find, solicit, and successfully put into action the expertise and advice of others. I'd be confident I could do anything and that the people would be there to help me if I would simply ask.
Kirk, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader listeners how they can connect with you?
Listen, my website is simply kirkweisler.com, KirkWeisler.
Kirk Weisler, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.